The social worker's call at midnight changed everything. There's an abandoned newborn, and the birth mother specifically listed you as the potential guardian. It was my cruel cousin who had spent years mocking my infertility. Infertility is the cruelest thief in the world. It does not just steal your dreams of holding your own baby, hearing their first laugh, or watching them take their first steps. No, infertility is far more sinister than that. It steals your confidence, your sense of womanhood, your belief in your own body's ability to do what seems to come so naturally to everyone else around you. But perhaps most devastating of all, it invites others to participate in your pain, to judge your struggles, and sometimes, to mock your deepest wounds with a cruelty that takes your breath away. In my case, that cruelty came wrapped in the familiar face of someone I had once loved like a sister. My cousin Vanessa had been my closest companion growing up, the girl I shared secrets with during summer sleepovers, the one who knew all my dreams about becoming a mother someday. We had planned our weddings together as children, imagined our kids playing together as cousins, promised each other we would be the aunts who spoiled each other's children rotten. But when real life replaced childhood fantasies, when my journey to motherhood became a nightmare of miscarriages, failed IVF rounds, and devastating disappointments, something fundamental shifted in our relationship. Something dark and ugly reared its head, revealing a side of Vanessa I had never seen before and wished I never had to witness. It started small, as these things often do. Little comments disguised as concern. Jokes that cut just deep enough to sting but not deep enough to call out directly. When I would share my latest fertility update with the family, hoping for support and encouragement, Vanessa would respond with observations that felt like tiny daggers aimed at my most vulnerable spots. "Maybe your body is trying to tell you something," she would say with a shrug, as if my repeated pregnancy losses were some kind of cosmic message I was too stubborn to understand. "Some women just are not meant to be mothers," she would add with fake sympathy, her eyes gleaming with something that looked suspiciously like satisfaction. "Maybe you should focus on other things instead of forcing something that clearly is not meant to happen." Each comment felt like a physical blow, but I kept telling myself she meant well, that maybe she just did not understand how much her words were hurting me. After all, she had never struggled with fertility issues. She had never felt the crushing disappointment of seeing a negative pregnancy test month after month, or the devastating grief of losing a pregnancy you had barely dared to hope for. But my attempts to give her the benefit of the doubt became impossible to maintain when her cruelty reached new heights during what should have been a joyful family gathering. It was my grandmother's 80th birthday party, and the whole extended family had gathered to celebrate. I was in the middle of another IVF cycle, exhausted from the hormone treatments and emotionally raw from the constant stress of hoping and disappointment. Vanessa had been drinking, which seemed to strip away whatever filter she usually maintained around her cruel observations. When the conversation turned to family planning and future generations, she stood up with her wine glass raised high, a wicked smile playing across her lips. "I would like to make a toast," she announced loudly, drawing everyone's attention, "to my strong, fertile womb that actually works the way it is supposed to." The silence that followed was deafening. I felt every pair of eyes in the room shift between Vanessa and me, the discomfort palpable as family members tried to process what they had just heard. My face burned with humiliation, and tears began to blur my vision as the full weight of her public mockery hit me like a physical assault. I excused myself from the table and fled to the bathroom, where I sobbed quietly while trying to compose myself enough to face the family again. When I finally emerged, several relatives approached me with embarrassed apologies for Vanessa's behavior, but their sympathy only made the whole situation feel more mortifying. That night marked the end of any pretense of a relationship between Vanessa and me. I could no longer make excuses for her behavior, or convince myself that she meant well. She had deliberately chosen to weaponize my deepest pain for her own entertainment, and there was no coming back from that level of cruelty. But life, as I would soon discover, has a way of writing the most unexpected plot twists. 6 months after the birthday party incident, I heard through family gossip that Vanessa had gotten pregnant unexpectedly by some guy she had been casually dating. The pregnancy was unplanned, unwanted, and from everything I heard, completely resented by Vanessa herself. While I had been desperately trying for years to conceive, spending thousands of dollars on fertility treatments and enduring countless medical procedures in my quest to become a mother. Vanessa had achieved pregnancy accidentally and seemed to view it as nothing more than an inconvenience that was disrupting her party lifestyle. The irony was not lost on me, but rather than feeling vindicated or satisfied by this turn of events, I found myself feeling genuinely sad for the baby who would be born to someone who clearly did not want them. Every child deserves to be welcomed into the world with joy and anticipation, not resentment and regret. Throughout her pregnancy, Vanessa complained constantly about every aspect of the experience. She hated how her body was changing, resented the restrictions on her social life, and seemed utterly unprepared for the reality of becoming a parent. She would post on social media about how pregnancy was ruining her figure, how she felt trapped by the situation, and how unfair it was that this had happened to her. Reading her posts was like watching someone complain about winning the lottery, while I was still desperately buying tickets with every spare dollar I had. The contrast between her attitude and my own desperate longing for exactly what she was experiencing was almost too painful to bear. When the baby was born, a beautiful little girl, the family waited for news of Vanessa's transformation into a loving mother. Surely, we all thought, holding her daughter for the first time would awaken some maternal instinct, some natural bond that would change everything. But that moment never came. According to my aunt, who had rushed to the hospital to meet her new great-granddaughter, Vanessa barely looked at the baby after delivery. She refused to hold her, showed no interest in breastfeeding, and seemed completely disconnected from the tiny human she had just brought into the world. She acts like the baby is not even hers, my aunt reported with obvious concern. Like she is just waiting for someone else to take over. That someone else, it turned out, was going to be the state social services system. Within days of the baby's birth, word spread through our family that Vanessa was seriously considering giving up the child for adoption. She had apparently spoken with social workers about surrendering her parental rights and placing the baby in foster care. The news hit me like a physical blow. Here was this precious baby girl, healthy and perfect and completely innocent, about to be abandoned by the very person who should have loved her most. While I had been praying for years for the chance to love and raise a child, this little one was about to be cast aside like an unwanted burden. I found myself lying awake at night, thinking about that baby girl in the hospital nursery, wondering if she could somehow sense that her own mother did not want her. I worried about what would happen to her, whether she would end up in a good foster home, or get lost in an overwhelmed system. I grieved for her uncertain future, and for the love she was already being denied. But I never could have imagined that I was about to become a central part of her story. The call came at 11:30 on a Tuesday night, jarring me from an exhausted sleep after another long day of hormone injections and medical appointments for my latest IVF attempt. The caller identified herself as Sarah Martinez, a social worker with the county's Child Protective Services Department. "I am calling about a newborn baby girl who was surrendered to our care earlier today," she said in a professional but gentle voice. "The birth mother has specifically listed you as a potential guardian and has requested that we contact you about taking placement of the child." My heart stopped. "I am sorry, what did you say?" "The birth mother's name is Vanessa Chun. She indicated that you are her cousin, and that you might be interested in caring for the baby." Vanessa, my cruel, heartless cousin who had spent months mocking my infertility struggles, had just abandoned her own child, and somehow thought of me as a potential solution to her problem. The audacity was breathtaking. But beneath my shock and anger, something else was stirring. Something that felt like destiny. "Can you tell me more about the baby?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "She is 6 days old, born at 37 weeks, currently weighing 6 pounds, 2 ounces. She is healthy and has been in our temporary care since her mother signed the surrender papers. Normally we would place her with a foster family while we work on finding permanent placement, but given that the birth mother specifically named you, we wanted to reach out first." 6 days old. This precious little girl had been alive for 6 days, and her own mother had already decided she was disposable. My heart broke for her, but it also soared with possibility. What would I need to do? I asked. Well, there would be a full home study, background checks, parenting classes, and a lot of paperwork. The process can take several months under normal circumstances, but given the birth mother's specific request and the baby's immediate need for placement, we might be able to expedite certain aspects. I did not hesitate. Not for a single second. Yes, I said firmly. Yes, I want to do whatever it takes. The next few weeks passed in a blur of paperwork, interviews, classes, and preparation. I had to prove my financial stability, my emotional readiness, my ability to provide a safe and loving home. I attended parenting classes designed for adoptive parents, learning about attachment issues, developmental milestones, and the unique challenges faced by children who had experienced early trauma or abandonment. Every step of the process felt surreal. After years of trying to conceive my own biological child, I was suddenly on the path to becoming a mother through the most unexpected circumstances imaginable. The baby I would raise had been rejected by the very person who had mocked my inability to have children, and now she would become my daughter through a twist of fate that felt too poetic to be coincidental. 3 weeks after that first phone call, I walked into the county social services building to meet my daughter for the first time. Sarah led me to a small, cheerfully decorated room where a foster care worker was gently rocking a tiny bundle wrapped in a pink blanket. "Emma, meet Luna Grace," Sarah said softly, using the name I had chosen for her during the paperwork process. The moment they placed her in my arms, my entire world shifted into perfect focus. She was so small, so delicate, with wisps of dark hair and the most peaceful expression I had ever seen. Her tiny fingers were curled into perfect fists, and when she opened her eyes and looked up at me, I felt something click into place in my soul. She was always meant to be mine. I knew it with absolute certainty, felt it in every cell of my body. This was not Plan B or a consolation prize. This was destiny, pure and simple. "Hello, my beautiful girl," I whispered to her, tears streaming down my face. "I am your mama, and I have been waiting for you my whole life." Luna settled into my arms like she belonged there, like she had been waiting for me too. In that moment, every moment of pain I had endured on my fertility journey suddenly made sense. Every failed pregnancy, every negative test, every tear I had cried had been leading me to this exact moment. To this perfect little girl who needed me as much as I needed her. The legal process took several more months to complete, but Luna came home with me that very day. I had already prepared a nursery, had already stocked up on everything a newborn could possibly need. I had been preparing to be a mother for years, and now I finally had my chance. Those first few months were the most beautiful and challenging of my life. Luna was a good baby, but she had some of the feeding and sleeping issues common to children who had experienced early separation from their birth mothers. I worked with pediatric specialists to address her needs, attended support groups for adoptive parents, and poured every ounce of love and dedication I possessed into helping her thrive. While I was falling deeper in love with my daughter every day, learning her rhythms and preferences, celebrating every milestone and growth spurt, Vanessa seemed to be spiraling further into self-destruction. I heard through family members that she was partying heavily, had dropped out of contact with most relatives, and showed no interest whatsoever in the daughter she had abandoned. Fine by me. Luna was mine now, legally and emotionally, and I had no desire for Vanessa to complicate our lives with sporadic attempts at involvement. I focused entirely on building a stable, loving life for my daughter. I enrolled her in early childhood development programs, took her to music classes and story time at the library, surrounded her with books and art supplies and every opportunity to explore her interests and talents. As Luna grew from a baby into a toddler, and then into a school-age child, it became clear that she was exceptionally bright and creative. She had an artist's eye for color and composition, could tell elaborate stories with complex characters and plots, and approached the world with a curiosity and joy that made every day an adventure. I made sure she knew her story from an early age, but in an age-appropriate way that emphasized how wanted and loved she was rather than focusing on the rejection she had experienced. I told her that her birth mother had been very young and not ready to be a parent, but that she had loved Luna enough to make sure she ended up with someone who could give her everything she deserved. Some mommies grow their babies in their tummies, I would tell her. But some mommies grow their love in their hearts and wait for their babies to find them. That is what happened with us. I grew so much love for you in my heart while I was waiting, and when you were born, You found your way to me. Luna seemed to understand and accept this explanation completely. She never expressed any curiosity about Vanessa, or any sense that something was missing from her life. As far as she was concerned, I was her mom, completely and totally, and that was all she needed to know. When Luna was 8 years old, she discovered a passion for painting that quickly developed into genuine artistic talent. Her teachers recommended that she enter a regional art competition for young artists, and her submission, a vibrant, emotional piece depicting a mother and child surrounded by swirling colors that seemed to dance with joy, won first place in her age category. That regional win qualified her for a national competition, and when the results were announced, I could barely contain my pride and excitement. Luna Grace, my beautiful daughter who had been thrown away by her birth mother, had won a National Youth Art Award for a painting that celebrated the bond between mother and child. The painting itself was breathtaking. Luna had somehow captured the essence of unconditional love in brushstrokes and color, creating something that spoke to viewers on a deeply emotional level. But it was the caption she had written to accompany the piece that brought tears to my eyes and told the whole world what she understood about our relationship. She chose me. I chose her right back. The award ceremony was covered by local media, and when reporters asked Luna about her inspiration for the painting, she spoke with the confidence and wisdom of someone far beyond her years. My mom always tells me that love is a choice you make every day, she said into the microphone, her voice clear and strong. She chose to love me before she even met me, and I choose to love her back every single day. That is what real families do. They choose each other. The video of her acceptance speech went viral within hours. News outlets picked up the story of the 10-year-old artist whose painting about chosen love had captured hearts across the country. Social media exploded with shares and comments from people who were moved by Luna's wisdom and the obvious love between us. That same week, as congratulations and interview requests poured in from around the world, I received a message that made me smile with a mixture of satisfaction and pity. It was from Vanessa, reaching out after years of complete silence. "Hey Emma," the message read. "I saw Luna's name trending on social media. That is wild that she won such a big award. She looks really happy and talented. Maybe we could meet up sometime? I would love to see how she is doing." I stared at that message for a long time, remembering the woman who had toasted to her strong, fertile womb, while mocking my struggles with infertility. The woman who had abandoned her own daughter without a second thought, then disappeared from our lives completely while I did the hard work of raising the child she had discarded. Now suddenly, when Luna was receiving national recognition for her talent and wisdom, when our story was inspiring people around the world, Vanessa wanted to be part of it. She wanted to swoop in and claim some connection to the success, to the beautiful child she had thrown away like garbage. I did not reply to her message. Not that day, not ever. Because Luna already knew everything she needed to know about family, about love, about what it means to be chosen and cherished. She understood that DNA does not make someone your parent. Showing up does. Being present does. Choosing to love someone every single day, through sleepless nights and temper tantrums and homework struggles and growing pains. That is what makes someone your real parent. Vanessa had contributed her genetic material to Luna's existence, but that was where her role in my daughter's story began and ended. I was the one who had walked the floors with Luna when she was colicky as a baby. I was the one who had kissed her scraped knees and celebrated her first words, and taught her to ride a bike. I was the one who had sat up all night when she had pneumonia, who had cheered at every school play and art show, who had patiently helped with homework and navigated the complex social dynamics of elementary school friendships. I was her mother in every way that mattered, and she was my daughter in every way that counted. The success of Luna's painting opened doors we had never expected. She was invited to showcase her work at galleries, to participate in youth artist programs, to work with mentors who could help develop her exceptional talent. Every opportunity was a reminder of how far we had both come from that midnight phone call 10 years earlier. But more than the external recognition, what mattered most was seeing Luna grow into a confident, compassionate, creative young woman who understood her own worth and knew without question that she was deeply loved. She had transformed from an abandoned newborn into a thriving child who brought joy and inspiration to everyone she met. The irony of our situation was not lost on me. Vanessa had tried to use my infertility as a weapon against me, mocking my inability to conceive as if it were some kind of personal failing or cosmic punishment. She had treated pregnancy and motherhood like they were her birthright while I was somehow unworthy of the same blessing. But in the end, she had proven herself utterly incapable of the most basic requirements of motherhood: unconditional love, consistent presence, and protective nurturing. She had been given the biological experience I had desperately wanted, and she had thrown it away like it meant nothing. Meanwhile, I had taken the child she had discarded and loved her so completely, so intentionally, that she had grown into an award-winning artist whose work celebrated the very bond that Vanessa had rejected. I had proven that real motherhood has nothing to do with biology, and everything to do with choice, commitment, and the daily decision to put your child's needs above your own. Luna was now 11 years old, thriving in middle school, continuing to develop her artistic talents, and growing into the kind of person who made everyone around her better. She volunteered at the local animal shelter, tutored younger children in art class, and had started a program at school to create artwork for elderly residents at nearby nursing homes. She was kind, confident, creative, and completely secure in her identity as my chosen daughter. She knew her story, understood her origins, and had never expressed any interest in connecting with Vanessa or learning more about that side of her biological history. "I already have everything I need," she told me once when I gently asked if she ever wondered about her birth mother. "I have you, I have our family, I have my art, and I have all the love anyone could ever want. Why would I need anything else?" Her contentment and confidence were the greatest victories I could have asked for. Not only had I successfully raised the child that Vanessa had thrown away, but I had raised her to be extraordinary. I had given her a life filled with love, opportunity, stability, and unwavering support, and she had flourished beyond my wildest dreams. The woman who had mocked my infertility, who had treated motherhood like it was her exclusive domain, had proven herself to be a complete failure as a parent. The woman she had scorned and ridiculed had taken the child she had abandoned and helped her become a nationally recognized artist whose work inspired thousands of people. Sometimes I wondered what Vanessa thought when she saw Luna's success stories circulating on social media, when she read articles about the talented young artist whose painting about chosen love had touched hearts around the world. Did she feel any regret about the choice she had made? Did she understand what she had given up when she signed those surrender papers? But mostly, I did not think about Vanessa at all. She had played her part in bringing Luna into existence, but she had forfeited any claim to ongoing relevance in our lives. Luna and I had built something beautiful together, something that had nothing to do with the woman who had contributed genetic material, and everything to do with the daily choice to love, support, and believe in each other. Our story had become an inspiration to other families formed through adoption, to parents struggling with infertility, to anyone who understood that family is about so much more than biology. We received letters from adoptive parents thanking us for showing their children that chosen families could be just as strong and loving as biological ones. We heard from adults who had been adopted as children, telling us that Luna's confidence and happiness gave them hope for their own children's futures. We had turned a story that began with cruelty and abandonment into something beautiful and meaningful, something that helped other people believe in the power of chosen love and intentional family building. As Luna entered her teenage years, continuing to excel academically and artistically, while growing into an increasingly compassionate and thoughtful young woman, I reflected often on the journey that had brought us together. Every struggle I had endured with infertility, every moment of heartbreak and disappointment, had been leading me toward her. Vanessa had thought she was humiliating me when she mocked my fertility struggles, but what she had actually done was prepare me to recognize and embrace the greatest gift of my life when it was offered to me. Her cruelty had sharpened my appreciation for the miracle of motherhood, had made me understand that being a parent was not about biology or ease of conception, but about love, commitment, and the daily choice to show up for your child. She had used my infertility to try to make me feel less than defective, unworthy of the motherhood I so desperately wanted. But in the end, I had become a mother to the most extraordinary child, while she had proven herself incapable of even basic maternal instincts. Luna Grace, the baby she had thrown away like trash, had become my greatest triumph, my deepest joy, and proof that sometimes the most beautiful families are formed not through biology but through choice, love, and the courage to open your heart to unexpected blessings. She chose me by listing my name on those adoption papers, probably not out of love but out of convenience. But I chose her right back with every ounce of love and dedication I possessed, and together we had built something more beautiful than either of us could have created alone. The woman who had mocked my empty womb had given me the greatest gift of my life, though she had never intended it as a gift at all. And now the whole world could see which one of us had truly understood what it meant to be a mother. Thank you so much for joining me on this incredible journey of heartbreak, healing, and the most unexpected blessing of my life. If this story touched your heart and reminded you that family is about so much more than biology, please subscribe to our channel for more powerful stories of resilience, chosen family, and the amazing ways love can transform even the darkest situations. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload, and share this story with anyone who needs to be reminded that sometimes our greatest gifts come disguised as our deepest challenges. Your support means everything to me and helps me continue sharing these important stories of hope and triumph. Subscribe now and become part of our incredible community of strong, inspiring people who believe in the power of chosen love.